Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, Master's in Counseling Psychology, longtime astrologer, psychic healer, and yogi. In today's episode, my guest is Hilary Harley, a fellow astrologer who's going to give us the scoop for the astrology of the rest of 2021. You're going to want to listen to hear what kind of cosmic twists are in store. Welcome to the episode where my guest is Hilary Harley, astrologer, Reiki master, and Akashic record reader. You can contact Hilary at www.hilary, that's Hilary, Harley, HARLEY.com for a reading or any of the other services she offers. Her podcast is Mystical Messages, available on all major platforms, including Spotify, Google, Apple, and more. I'm honored and privileged to have Hilary Harley as my guest today. Hello, Hilary. How are you?
Hey, Jill. It's so awesome to be here. Thank you for having me back on your show.
So happy to have you back. I'm psyched to have the two astrologers tune in to the rest of 2021 and what awaits us in January, right over the cusp into the new year. And it has been gearing up for what's coming. What's coming, as astrologer friends have said, September was a little bit of a recess and a relaxation compared to what's coming now. And it all begins, the fun begins, the cosmic fun begins on the 18th of October when Jupiter and Mercury go direct in the same day. Jupiter in Aquarius and Mercury in Libra. What's your take on that, Hilary?
Well, I would expect some big news for sure to have both Mercury and Jupiter going direct right before a full moon. I would expect some big announcements and expect the unexpected. People might actually reach across the aisle in Congress and, strike a deal. Jupiter, to remind everybody, is big and expansive, and the Santa Claus of the zodiac. Mercury is the messenger, brings messages, delivers all news and information. So this is really big on Monday.
You know what's funny about this date? I've been telling all the cryptocurrency people who I've been advising and through their various podcasts and YouTubes that, hey, this is go time for the cryptocurrency markets. After the 18th of October, the markets are going to rise, but you only have a short window before you get your profits, and you might want to think of taking them out sooner rather than later. But also, like letting our listeners know, there were some precursors to this 18th of October date. We had Pluto go direct on the 6th. And that's when you alerted me that the Pandora Papers were revealed.
Oh, yeah, that was something else. Pluto, for anybody who is not on board, is the god of the underworld. It digs up and excavates all the muck and the mire. It has to do with very big money and resources, things that are hidden. And when it turned direct earlier this month of October, it revealed some things about big guns, big wheeler dealers that potentially have not been so above board with their resources.
Right. And then Saturn goes direct on the 10th in the middle of Columbus Day weekend. And the big news that weekend was that Southwest canceled all the Saturn, canceling all those flights. And they gave fake reason. They said it was air traffic control and it was weather, when really it was management. And a lot of their pilots had their staff were not getting vaccinated, so they decided not to fly. Did you know that piece of it? Yeah.
No, I had not heard that. Wow. Yeah. I thought they were covering up like mechanical stuff or scheduling that they had overbooked, but I did not realize it had to do with the vaccine.
It was inner politics, yes, and management and people being available. Basically, they didn't have crews showing up to where they were supposed to. So I think that Jupiter going direct, we're going to see more of that, there's going to be a big expansive situation where staff shortages. People aren't available. It's already leading into that, but people aren't going to be available, whether they're airline personnel or whether they're just people who are working in various places. That's
Well,
going to become a big issue. Maybe something will be
yeah,
done about. I think something might be done about it, Jupiter.
yeah, Jupiter might force the hand for sure. I mean, Jupiter has to do with travel. It has to do with higher education, certainly. So we'll see what happens in those sectors. And yeah, the end of October, things get rolling. So remember to sign your contract. You can move forward next week through the end of October. It's time to start thinking about holiday gifts, buying things for the family and loved ones. Now, any kind of major investments that you want to do, we have a window between Monday and eclipse time, which we'll get into in November, but you've got about a month to make any really significant purchases or sign major contracts or documents.
Yes, that's excellent advice because people have been holding back. I have a lot of clients who haven't bought their homes. People aren't buying their cars, and there's a lack of cars
And
too.
if there aren't any cars for sale.
Maybe Jupiter's going to
Yeah.
bring an abundance of transportation again, and then even their electronic devices. So people have been pretty good with the Mercury retrograde, and we need to let them know that things are going to flow smoother, like appointments. A lot of people have experienced a lot of little weird glitches during this Mercury retrograde, and
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
travel glitches have been right number one on that list for people. But yeah, so we have a month to really let it roll, let it rock, do what you need to do, get your house in order, and get ready
Yep.
for the eclipse of the year on the 19th
Yeah.
of November. But did you want to say something about the Scorpio new moon on the 4th of November?
Yes, yes. I do want to talk about the first couple dates in November. The new moon is Scorpio, and it sort of triggers off this season coming up the next few months. In fact, a lot of Scorpio energy we have coming up. So, Scorpio, to remind everybody, it is ruled by Pluto, and it has to do with power. It's the big guns in life: sex, death, power. Who has the power? Who doesn't have the power? Shared resources, taxes. Certainly, what we do in the metaphysical realm, Scorpio and Pluto are about rebirth and transformation. So, this is a really strong new moon to set your intentions on November 4th. And the very next day, Venus turns into Capricorn, which I want to talk about for a minute, and Mercury, messenger Mercury, ruler of communication, rolls into Scorpio. So there's very strong Scorpio energy, and it's alchemical, very magical, highly transformative, powerful new moon on November 4th. Venus is going to be in Capricorn for 4 months. So when it moves into Capricorn on the next day, November 5th, this is teeing us up. And it's not particularly comfortable in Capricorn because Capricorn is very black and white.
Right.
It's tied to Scorpio in a way. It's like the great cosmic ledger. You either have it or you don't have it, whatever it is.
Right.
So, yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that first week in November is going to be pretty intense. It also happens to be All Saints Day, Election Day on All Souls Day, and that Scorpio and
Right.
the Scorpio new moon actually kicks in at like around 9 o'clock East Coast time here on the 3rd. So we have that scorpionic energy operating the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. And I've
Mm-hmm.
told the crypto people, this is a good time to take your profits, take your money out, even though it may not be the peak, but at least you can access your resources, your
Yeah.
profits. And then the Mercury goes
Yep.
into Scorpio, as you said, and Venus in Capricorn. So I'm seeing that as like, there's going to be a lot of secrets revealed. A lot of what was under the rug for the last few
Yep.
months is coming to the surface. Now,
For
Venus in
sure.
Capricorn, I think, is going to, like, how there's I like the way one of my clients said, it's like, yeah, everybody's quitting their job to find themselves because perhaps they had the luxury of saving some money from unemployment or whatever. But
Hmm.
Venus in
Hmm.
Capricorn is going to get people back to work. They're going to have to. It's like there's no
I agree.
luxury. Venus in Capricorn is like amps up the work ethic, I would say. It's like you don't get the luxury unless you work for it. So I kind of like that
Yep.
as somebody who has two planets in Capricorn, but I think it's going to be also a bit austere. Capricorn is austere, rationing, things like that. I think that's when
Yep.
this whole shortage energy of the ships that are off the coast of California that can't bring the supplies ashore because there's nobody to unpack them and there's no trucks, people driving the trucks. I think we're going to get hit straight on where, by the way, this Christmas, you might not get what you want because Santa Claus is trapped out on a boat off the shore of California.
Exactly. Yeah, the vendors have been talking about that they can't get the goods to sell in either their shops online or shops, hard storefronts. So it's been really difficult. But also, Capricorn is great building block energy. So, it's good for making a plan and doing the thing. It's very hard nosed. This is not warm and fuzzy energy. And Venus is not particularly comfortable in Capricorn. But it does, when you focus, it's great for focus. And when you have a goal, it can deliver the goods. So, pardon the pun.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be it's no nonsense. It's like, let's get this done. And then the moon
Right,
joins
right,
Venus on the 7th and 8th and 9th of November. So it is going to be like, let's get back to work. We've got to get through
right.
the next few months. And then I noticed that Venus goes retrograde on the 19th of December, but we'll talk about that when we get there and how that's going to affect people.
Yeah, yeah. But first, the first eclipse is going to be on November 19th at 27 Scorpio, and so the moon is in Taurus, the sun is in Scorpio, and so it's all about money, 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 money.
Right.
Who has it? Who doesn't have it? And I just want to remind people that it's often the time between eclipses. So the first eclipse is November 19th. The second one is December 4th, and it often operates as a black hole. So
Right.
if you can, the good news is the Thanksgiving weekend falls within that. So there's not a lot of business getting done in that window. So if you can hold off on major contracts during that time, do it either before or right after those eclipses. That's what I tell my clients.
Right. And people have to know that the word eclipse means that something is going to be blacked out. So it isn't the best time for moving anything forward. And generally it's the new moon when you initiate and it's the full moon when you release. And because
Hmm.
the sun is in Scorpio during this full moon, this is a great time to let go of anything physically that you want to release, anything subconscious. It's the time of the Native American giveaway. Just give away, let
Right,
go, release as much as you can because you're making room for the new to come in the
right.
new year. But the other thing about this eclipse, I think it's the precursor to the big announcements that are going to come in January of 2022. Hey, we're in a recession because it is affecting financial
Yeah.
markets. And I see that. I actually see that between the 19th and the 19th of December that the markets may
Take a
fall.
dip.
Yeah, I think it's not going
Yep.
to be such a good time economically with the stock markets, and that, Black Friday and some of the down economic stock cycles have all happened when the sun is in Scorpio. So here,
Scorpio. Yes.
yeah,
Yep. That's very true. Yeah, and just to remind everybody, Uranus is in Taurus, and this eclipse doesn't touch. It's too distant from Uranus,
right.
but it's all about value, what we value, not just the almighty dollar, but who and what we value, our skills and our talents, how to develop and cultivate our skills and talents to earn more money and to bring in the bacon.
Right. And the other thing that's become very valuable in this day and age is time. And the fact that we are in
Hmm.
accelerations, especially now that these planets are all going to be traveling forward, Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn, Pluto,
Saturn. Yep.
it's the first month they're fully on forward in a while, that we're going to see acceleration. So what becomes really valuable for people is time and energy as well as money.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because when I talk to clients, I remind them that resources are not just money and what you have in the bank, or any kind of property. It is time, and your energy that you put forth. It's all the same thing. Time is money. That's why they say that.
Right. And it becomes so important after this eclipse on November 19th. My guest is Hilary Harley, astrologer, podcaster. When we come back, we're going to talk about December, the solar eclipse in December, the full moon, the winter solstice, and what is going to unfold in January 2022. Stay tuned. December. What awaits us, Hilary?
Hey, on December 1st, Neptune goes direct motion. And so this is the one of the last two planets that has been cycling retrograde. So we're in the flow again, the beginning of December. And that tees us up for the new moon solar eclipse at 12 degrees Sagittarius on December 4th. So I just want to emphasize that beginning Monday, October 18th, this coming Monday, it is a great time to start buying your holiday gifts because going into December, it gets a little dicey around the full moon. So if you can start now, definitely Black Friday deals coming around Thanksgiving, buying up everything because putting them away a little on the early side because we don't know, given the shortages that are going on, if there is going to be anything on the shelves to
Right,
buy.
right.
So, I wrote in my notes for today to really think about buying holiday gifts before the middle of December. This is not the year you want to wait till the last minute. So that gives you a 2-month window from this Monday, October 18th, all the way through November and into the first part of December. So the new moon polar eclipse on the 4th is in Sagittarius, which is about freedom, truth, the law, cosmic and earthly law. It is about higher education, both learning and teaching. It is about long distance travel. So if you're thinking about taking a trip, this would be the time to begin thinking about planning a trip.
I agree.
Definitely, yeah, definitely setting your intentions on that very strong Sagittarian new moon. And it's bolstered by Mars. I call it motivating Mars. It's sort of the kick in the pants that gets you out of bed in the morning. That turns into Sagittarius a week later on the 12th. And then let's talk about that full moon.
Okay. Well, let's go back
On the
to,
19th.
I'm looking at that first week in December, the 1st through the solar eclipse on the 4th, Neptune going direct, and then the solar eclipse. I think that I just keep hearing pop, pop. I think a lot of illusions and delusions are going to pop. Let's not
Yep.
forget Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So those things that were overextended, overexpanded, over exaggerated are going to pop. And there's going to be a lot of taking off those rose colored glasses and seeing the truth after the eclipse because things have been obscured.
I totally agree. Yeah.
And the other
Because,
thing, yeah.
I was just going to say, because it's truth and free, the truth shall set you free. And when Neptune turns direct motion, that's, the rose colored glasses really do come off. Neptune rules illusion, delusion, disillusionment. But once it's moving forward again, right on the heels of this new moon solar eclipse in Sag, which is all about the real deal, like what is in front of you, crystal clear truth. And then Mars going into Sag as well a week later. This is really a time that we're held to account.
Right. And the other thing I realized is that solar eclipse on the 4th is the last of the year and a half of eclipses in Sagittarius and Gemini. So we're finishing
Oh,
an 18-month cycle of eclipses that are affecting Gemini and Sagittarius. So, hey, you Geminis and Sagittarians out there, you get a break. Scorpios and Taurus, hold on. You're in line for some major transformation.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're
So,
coming.
yeah. And the other thing I noticed is that, like, the same day, that Mars goes into Sagittarius on the 13th of December,
Yep.
Mercury's going into Capricorn. So more to the,
Wow.
we're going to have a lot of Capricornian planets there after the 21st. So Mercury will be joining Venus in Capricorn. So it is going to be quite the austere Scrooge-like
Yeah.
Christmas, I think.
That's some real deal energy there. It's not shading the truth at all. It's time to face the music for sure.
That's right.
So what are we talking? Let's talk about that full moon on the 19th with Venus, planet of love, money, and relationships going retrograde till the end of January. That's some heavy duty stuff there.
Right.
Talk about real deal and austere.
I mean, at least the full moon is in Sagittarius and Gemini. It's the first moon in Gemini, Sun in Sag that hasn't been eclipsed for the year and a half. It's like, phew, we're out of the eclipse pattern now, Sagittarius. So
Right.
I think that's going to be good for Sagittarians. I think there's going to be almost like on one level, the talk is going to be there, but we don't know with the Capricorn if people are going to walk the walk. It's going to all try to show a big, happy, shiny, happy future, but we don't know with all that Capricorn.
Right, right. So Venus, it typically rules investments. And when it turns retrograde, this is typically not a time to invest. So it's, especially in Capricorn, it's about setting limits and boundaries. It's super discerning what works, what does not work in terms of your wallet, your pocketbook, about people in your life for sure, your talents, and how you want to invest your time, energy, and money. So, I just want to remind everybody that Venus retrograde lasts for 40 days, and some astrologers like to draw the relationship to Jesus's wandering in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, because that's how long it took his temptation in the desert. And Venus is not, when it goes retrograde, this is not a time to spend your money foolishly. And we have temptation all around us. So if you think about this, the end of December and then the whole beginning part of January, Venus is retrograde. So normally we're setting our New Year's resolutions and kick-starting our year ahead. But with Venus retrograde, you really want to be looking inward, especially at this deep, dark time of winter, taking stock, how you want to cast your future, year ahead, how you want to spend your money, what you want to invest in. So before you go out and buy the new shiny automobile, just make sure that you can pay the lease or make the car payment.
Right. And it's interesting because I think the Venus retrograde in Capricorn, and then I've noticed that New Year's Day, we're going to have Sun, Mercury, Venus, Pluto, and Mercury and Venus and Pluto are all conjunct in Capricorn. So I think that the era of
Wow.
speculation is over. You know how people were
Yep.
and I even have told the cryptocurrency people that, like, you're gonna have some down cycles here into early 2022, but certainly the regular markets are going to be very
Dicey.
dicey, and it's kind of like to have that many in Capricorn at the beginning of the year, it's a bit of a Debbie Downer for New Year's. Although the good news is the
Yeah.
moon will be in Sag. The moon is in Sag. We've got the
Yeah.
fire to offset. We got the moon in Sag, trining Mars in Sag, and we also
Oh,
have,
that's lovely.
yeah, and Saturn in Aquarius is throwing a nice aspect to those. So hopefully those are what are going to bail us out.
Yeah, and you also, with Venus retrograde, you also want to watch people resurfacing in your life from the past. Like, the person reaching out to you via Facebook or Instagram that you knew from high school or college, an old neighbor or long lost friend or relative getting in touch with you. This is between the end of December, around the 20th, all the way through January.
Right, the blast from the past, but because it's Capricorn, they're not necessarily the blast from the past that you want to see. Uh, right? Capricorn. Oh, no.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, so another big transit that listeners need to be aware of, Hilary, is that Jupiter shifting out of Aquarius into Pisces on the 29th of December.
Yeah, right before New Year's. And, it's really going to fly. I was looking at the calendar. Jupiter normally spends about a year in a sign, but it is going to fly through Pisces. It stuck its toe into Pisces this past summer, July and August,
Right.
went back into Aquarius. And now that it's moving forward on Monday, the 18th of October, it's going to finish up in Aquarius. And then, as you said, December 29th, right before the new year, it's going to re-enter Pisces, where it's only going to be for about 4.5 months. So Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces,
Right.
and you think about galvanizing the oceans. This is huge energy, gargantuan energy. So water,
Tsunamis.
music.
Music, tsunamis.
Yeah. So if you need to do any work on your house with gutters or any kind of water-based appliances, you want to shore those up and make sure they're all in good order, because this could have some massive flooding indications, certainly in the spring, when it conjoins Neptune, the ruler of Pisces.
That's
So
right. April.
I have my eye on that. Yeah.
The other thing I see with Jupiter and Pisces, so we have all the austerity going on in the beginning of the year with all the Capricornian planets. Well, Jupiter and Pisces is what? It's an escape. It's like, oh, I'm just going to take some psilocybin mushrooms and get high. I just think people are, I really do think that Jupiter and Pisces is like, tune in and tune out. It's kind of going back to where it was in 1964 when Timothy Leary was
Yeah.
doing his experiments with the psilocybin mushroom. So I've already been hearing whisperings that those ayahuasca, psilocybin
Right.
mushrooms, the cannabis,
Yeah.
people are going to really get creative in the ways of finding altered states. And I mean, as we suggest on Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, go the natural route, meditate, do mantras, don't take
Right.
substances. But I think a lot of the
Right.
population will find the ability to escape their reality appealing in the times of austerity.
Yeah, especially with Venus retrograde, there could be some spending money in ways that are very tempting. And you also want to watch one night stands, affairs during that Venus retrograde between December 19th and the end of January, particularly with Jupiter now into Pisces, as you mentioned, the end of December. And then for extra added fun, we have Mercury going retrograde on the middle of January. So for the last 2 weeks of January, both Venus, planet of love, money, and relationship, and Mercury, which is communication, are going to be retrograde.
I think that's setting
So that
setting things up for divorce season in the spring, don't you?
yeah, this is, it's a very slow start to the new year. And what I have been really looking at is the new year really isn't going to get going in my book until the beginning of February with the Chinese New Year. But with all of this retrograde energy going on, and the one thing we do have to look forward to is the full moon on January 18th. It is going to be on the same day that change agent Uranus turns direct motion in Taurus.
Can't
So
wait.
the full moon. Yep.
Well, and then it looks like Venus will go direct on the 29th. So the second half of January, or at least starting on the 18th, it's going to look a little bit brighter than the beginning of the new year and the beginning of the month. And I agree with you. I always tell my clients the real new year kicks off when the sun and moon are in Aquarius, Chinese
Right.
Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year. And that's one of the best times to set intentions for the coming year.
Yeah, absolutely. That is 100% for sure this January 2022. And also, we want to talk about the day after the full moon on January 18th. The nodes, the north and the south node, shift signs. They move from Sag and Gemini into Scorpio and Taurus for the next 18 months from January 19th all the way through 2023. So there is this huge emphasis that's going to be on values, money, resources, both time, energy, money, power, karma, skill, and talent development. It's a real show me the money time.
Yep. Show me the money, honey. And I see a scramble for money. I think that maybe people will decide, hey, maybe I should go back and work. And that the other thing is it's going to be a very powerful year and a half of true transformation, going really deep, Plutonian deep into the psyche and subconscious and healing. And I think that would be good if we have a society who goes in on that. I think we'll see big changes.
Yes. Absolutely. It is, not to be forgotten that Scorpio is the transformer, and this coming 2-year window is deeply transformative. And so hopefully we can bring our values into alignment and start to reach across the great divides of one another and recognize that we are actually much more alike than we are different. And that will be the powerful, transformative emphasis that Scorpio has.
Beautiful takeaway.
Thank you. And then the 29th, the very end of January, Venus goes direct. And then it's sort of like an all clear signal, February 4th, when Mercury also turns direct. So that's why I'm looking at that new moon in February. It's the Chinese New Year of the Tiger, coincides really nicely with this nodal change coming up. It's all steam ahead, the beginning of February of 22.
Hear that, Aquarians? The new year, the new energy comes in February. Thank you, Hilary Harley, my guest today. Any let's give some bright lights to look forward to in the next 3 months. Just maybe some words of wisdom or some bright lights that our listeners can remember in the coming months.
I would say make the most of this last bit of Sagittarius and Gemini. Speak your truth, live your truth, walk your path, what feels honest and true to you, and let the chips fall where they may. Don't worry so much about what other people think, say, or do, because you can't really control that anyway. You have to be true to yourself first.
That's great. Great advice. Keep your own counsel. My guest has been Hilary Harley. Check her out on Hilary Harley, HILARY, and listen to her podcast, Mystical Messages, on all major platforms where you can get more astrological information. We'll be giving you updates on our various podcasts, Cosmic Scene and Mystical Messages, as all these big astro events break. Thank you, Hilary.
Thank you so much for having me today on your show, Jill.
So much fun and such a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cosmic Scene with my guest, Hilary Harley, giving you the update for late October, November, December, and January 2022. Make sure that you subscribe to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, download and share all the episodes, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine signing out, sending you healing cosmic vibrations through the quantum field. Da!